everyone. Welcome to an Americans for Limited Government live stream. Today, it's a 2-for-1 show. We're going to share the latest updates on a Senate vote that is expected today on this must-pass spending bill, the continuing resolution. We have Senators Mike Lee, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, and others who are attempting to bring amendments to this spending bill that would defund Biden's vaccine mandate. So Rick's going to have an update on that. And then secondly, we want to look at the school board recalls in San Francisco. Now that just happened yesterday, and Rick wants to look at sort of the bigger political implications, basically why those recalls signal a nightmare for Democrats across the country. So we'll get into that second. But first, Rick, thank you for being with us. And what is the latest with this spending bill in the Senate?
What's happening is that the Senate has not voted yet on the continuing resolution to fund the government through March 11th. There is a battle right now over the defund amendments that are being offered by Senator Lee and Senator Cruz and some others, which would defund the federal government mandates, regulatory mandates on people who haven't been vaccinated. So and also there's one that deals with masking that I think Senator Cruz has. So there's a big battle over whether those are going to be over those amendments. The challenge right now is we had the votes, but it's a lot of the senators want to go home for President's Day holiday. And so they are actually leaving the Capitol to go to National Airport at Reagan National and get on a plane and go home rather than hanging around and doing this. So Representative Chip Roy just tweeted the following. Any Republican who chooses jet fumes, i.e. fundraisers, vacations, fancy trips, or even just going home to their families over standing up for the American people should be shown the door. Stand up now, hashtag defund vax mandates, and hashtag take back America. So this is serious. We are actually losing senators who would otherwise vote on our site on this because they don't want to miss their flights. And pretty frustrating, but that's the reality. We just sent out an alert to everybody who is on our email list, including virtually everybody who signed the defund mandates now, or defundthemandates.com. Virtually everybody signed that. Should have in your email inbox very shortly a request that you send both an email to your senators, but also call your senators and urge them to vote to defund the mandates right now. It's a simple message. It's one we have to deliver. Senator Lee and Chip Roy over in the House have asked us to do this. It's up to you guys to actually do it. So check your email inboxes and get that done. If you are looking for, if you don't see it in your inbox, you can go to getliberty.org, click the Stop the Vaccine Mandates, and send a message to your congressman and your senators about stopping the vaccine mandates that will have a good effect. So it's not exactly on point, but it'll work. So those are your options. Go to getliberty.org and send an email through that vehicle. Just click the Stop the Vaccine Mandates button and use that tool, or take the email, which should be arriving in your box momentarily, and click on that email. And we give you the call-in number, which is to Senate is 202-224-3121.
Hang on, Rick, this is Catherine. Repeat that number again, and I'll put it up on the screen.
202-224-3121. That's the Senate. That's the Senate switchboard. Ask for your senators, one of your senators, and just ask them to vote to defund the vaccine mandates. Folks, this should be the easiest issue in the world. Even the DC mayor, Muriel Bowser.
Hang on, Rick. What did I miss something? Okay, I got 202-224, then 3121. Got it. Okay, let me put that up.
Okay. This should be the easiest issue in the world. We've got Democrat governors, Democrat mayors all over the country saying we don't want this anymore. We have jurisdictions that are heavily Democrat pulling the plug on their vaccine mandates at a local level. And it is absurd. It's actually obscene for federal government mandates to remain in place because the federal government even if you think the mandate should have existed, the federal government is at your local level. The federal government is inflexible. It doesn't deal with any of the vagaries, any of the local concerns. It is essentially a one-size-fits-all solution, and it is the responsibility of this Senate to end the enforcement of all those mandates and make it so our country is allowed to remain free. Let me give you a simple example. The reason you have to have a mask on in airplanes is because there's an FAA regulation, actually guidance, that says you have to. Okay, it isn't because the airlines want you to, it's because the FAA says you have to. We have to strip all of those things away because the Biden administration will not. And that's what we're fighting about right now in the Senate. That's what we're trying to get done. And that's why we need your help right now. This is real time, and start fighting. And this is and I just got a note from Senator Lee saying we need GOP senators to stay in DC and fight. That's the note I got from Senator Lee right now, just came across my board. So please contact your senators and urge them to stick around and to fund the vax mandates, and if they are a Republican, because I don't think we're going to get any Democrat votes, if they are a Republican, urge them to stay in town. Tell them that you need them to stay in town and do their job. Okay, that's very simple.
Steve Myers says it's not that they don't want to miss their flights. This is an excuse to evade their responsibility and stand up against tyranny. Steve, I think you make a really good point. I think so many Americans have just lost faith in our elected leaders over the last 2 years. The COVID pandemic has caused us to lose faith and trust in all sorts of key institutions, obviously, including Congress, our elected officials. So all we can do as individuals is, let them know how we feel about these things. So give your senators a call. You've done your civic duty. Send them an email. Let them know that you want these mandates defunded.
And right now, just like we just took 20 minutes and put out something to over 100,000 people, urging them to take action. Spend 5 minutes just sending what we sent you, forwarding it to your contact list, because that we have to expand this right now. We have to make it so those senators say, you know what, I'll catch a flight tomorrow. And that is and you're right, Steve, some of them want to evade responsibility. What they have to know is there is no evading responsibility. And we need to hold them accountable right now.
Okay, Rick, I'm going to update the banner to let people know it's about defund vaccine mandates. So don't they have until midnight tonight? And if they don't pass this continuing resolution,
it's tomorrow. Well, tomorrow night is
okay.
And here's why they need to do it today.
Okay.
Because the House is out of session right now, and the House will have to come back tomorrow and pass it tomorrow. And if the House doesn't want to pass it, then the government will be, quote unquote, shut down, even though nobody would notice in DC since nobody's going to work in the federal government. And at which point you'll hear about government shutdowns and all this stuff. And, we may have a big fight on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, into the future. Here's the key. The Democrats' political campaign arm have already said they want an off-ramp to deal with this COVID issue. This is their off-ramp. Take the federal government out of the game. That's their job. It's what they can do. If they want an off-ramp on COVID, It isn't making a statement. It isn't doing, things that, show things. It's actually voting yes to a continuing resolution that eliminates all of the vaccine mandates. And that is what we need to do. And, the fact is, we may not have caught them all in terms of what Senator Lee is introducing. Senator Cruz has another amendment he's introducing. But we're going to get a wide swath of them with this. And so we're going to have to continue fighting into the future to March 11, when they're going to have the next vote. But right now we have a chance to take out a lot of the Biden mandate agenda. And, this is not hyperbole. This is real. This is real time stuff. And yeah, this is the opportunity. This is the moment. So it's why we live streams.
Rick, just before we went on our live stream, I got an email from a staffer from Senator Ted Cruz. And as you indicated, she just wanted to let us know that there's more than one amendment to defund the vax mandates. Senator Lee is carrying the one that's is quite broad, but Senator Ted Cruz has a separate one. It would defund coercive school-based COVID-19 vaccine mandates. The Cruz amendment prohibits federal funding provided under the continuing resolution from being distributed to schools, child care centers, and Head Start facilities that have COVID-19 vaccine mandates affecting children under ages 19. So I think the issue, what it is, right, is schools are starting to remove their vax mandates at the local level. But where there's Head Start programs, because they get all that federal funding, they are still required to keep those masks on. They cannot escape the mask mandates. And
they also are requiring students to actually have to show that they've been vaccinated to attend. So Senator Cruz has an excellent amendment. That's why we're saying all vax mandate amendment. Right. Because there are going to be there are a couple of other people I know who have amendments. One is it deals with masks. I don't know that they're standing down there right now trying to get theirs done. We know that our communications with Senator Lee and Senator Cruz tell us that these two amendments that they're fighting to get them considered. And the difference between winning and losing is whether or not your GOP senators decide to stay in town and vote, or go home so they can have a picnic in somewhere in their state.
So we have it scrolling below. Call the Senate switchboard now. The phone number's on your screen, and ask them to stay in town in DC tonight to vote on these critical amendments to this continuing resolution. These amendments would defund the vaccine mandate. But as Rick has been saying, a lot of these senators are trying to jump on a plane right about now, and they will miss this critical vote. This, of course, is the president's weekend. They all want to get back home to their districts. We need them to stay in town tonight. So call the switchboard. The number's on the screen.
Yeah. Let me, we have tweets by Rick Scott, Chip Roy. Let's see what Rick Scott has to say. Rick Scott on Twitter is saying, my inbox is just filling up with stuff that's coming into us on this. So I'm trying to keep you guys up to date on what's happening. Rick Scott from Florida says, I am not leaving. Okay. So that's the right answer. That is the right answer. I'm not leaving. That's fantastic news. So, the question is, where's Marco? Where's Marco Rubio? Is he going to be there? That's a question which his office needs to answer. So Rick Scott from Florida is going to be there. He's going to vote, and he's going to vote to end the vaccine mandates. Question is, right now, if you're from Florida, is what is Marco Rubio going to be doing? So that's the kind of information that we're having flow in right now, and it's and so
I just put up on the screen that tweet from Rick Scott. I'm not leaving. He was responding to Senator Mike Lee, who said Senate GOP has a very real chance of defunding these remaining vaccine mandates if every Republican stays for the vote. So then he got a yay from Rick Scott. So we need you to call your senator and urge them to stay for this vote tonight.
Absolutely. That's exactly what needs to happen. And once again, the email you should have an email arriving in your inbox from Americans for Limited Government. Kat, can you get from David what the subject line is, and we can just tell them what the subject line is so they can look for it? Because we do that so we have the phone number in there, but we do that so you can, with a click, basically go and get to and have something arrive in the Senate office as well.
Defund vaccine mandates today.
Okay. So the subject line is, what is it again?
Tell the Senate to defund the vax mandates today.
Okay.
Tell the Senate to defund the vax mandates today. You should have an email in your inbox if you are a subscriber of ours at Americans for Limited Government. That email just went out within the last 15 minutes or so. It just says,
and also with many of the people who were part of the 23.3 million or 20.3 million people who flooded the Congress with emails to oppose vaccine mandates. So we got a number of those people into the mix. So but here's what needs to happen for you guys, because we have a small audience on this. We need you to take these things and shove them out as far and wide as you can, because it doesn't matter if you're going across state boundaries. Just get it to everybody you can, because we have an emergency right now. We're doing what we can to reach as many people as possible, but you have people who you can reach who we cannot. So take that email we've sent and forward it to your list. We will keep you apprised of what's going on in terms of this, and we'll give you some updates as things come across. But Kat, do you want to go and deal with it? Talk a little bit about what's happening in San Francisco right now, because it is it's actually the left is collapsing, and they are actually eating each other and fighting. And this is San Francisco, California, the most liberal city in America.
Okay, so I'll just tell you briefly what happened is 3 school board members on the San Francisco school board were recalled. We got the results yesterday. The percentage of people voting, it was over 70% of them said we want these board members removed. And now this is a fight that goes back over a year. In fact, I'm going to show you a clip here. The district attorney a year ago filed a lawsuit against the school board saying, you aren't doing your jobs. You need to get these kids back in school or show us a reasonable plan to do so. And that was over a year ago. And so this has been going on for a while. Yesterday, they finally got these 3 board members recalled. And I have 2 videos I want to share with you. The first one is just a clip. And this is Dennis Herrera. He is the district attorney for San Francisco, a Democrat. He filed a lawsuit February 3rd of 2021 because he knew, and parents knew back then, that children were being harmed by these shutdowns and lockdowns and mask mandates. So watch this, and then we'll watch a little video that shows us what happened yesterday.
The city is suing for a single cause of action at this point: violation of a ministerial duty, which covers when a government official, or in this case, officials, fail to perform their official duties. The city is seeking a court order that, among other things, requires San Francisco Unified School District to fulfill their obligation under state law to, quote, prepare to offer in-person instruction, close quote, now that it is possible to do so safely. We're asking the court to order the school board and the school district to put in place a viable plan to reopen safely. If that plan is followed, schools will reopen. More than 54,000 San Francisco school children are suffering. They are being turned into zombies by online schooling. Enough is enough. Getting kids back in school needs to be the only priority of school district leadership.
So Rick, that last phrase where he says getting children back in school needs to be the only priority, what he was referring to there, and we'll watch another clip where we discuss this a little more, is over the past 2 years of COVID, the San Francisco School Board has been renaming schools, including a school named after Abraham Lincoln. I mean, this is completely offensive to every parent in this school district, because they're like, well, why don't you focus on getting our schools back in the class, our kids in the classroom? Instead, the board is focused on renaming schools. There was even a case where they had a school named after Democrat Senator Dianne Feinstein. And then they said, nope, we need to strip her name off because they found some obscure story from the 1980s involving a Confederate flag, something about she had returned the flag to the museum. Anyway, it was insane. And parents saw that. They're like, this woman's a Democrat icon, and you're trying to cancel her out and strip her name off of school, Abraham Lincoln's name. So parents have been outraged in San Francisco for a long time.
And Dianne Feinstein is the former mayor of San Francisco. She was the mayor of San Francisco before she became a U.S. senator, and is held in extremely high regard in San Francisco. And so these school board crazies have sat there and gone completely out of control. And the reason this matters, because you say, oh, San Francisco, okay, it's a long way away and there's no Republicans there anyway. They're all crazy. And that's actually probably pretty true. But why this matters is there is absolute fratricide going on within the Democrat Party. The AOC wing, the crazy Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wing that wants to cancel everything, is now, was basically through George Soros funding, taking root in a lot of our local institutions. And now we see in those largely Democrat areas massive pushback from the kind of the regular Democrat Party operatives. And they're saying, wait a second, you're offending us, you're offending our sensibilities, you're going too far. And that internal battle for the heart and soul of the Democrat Party is worth noting, because it's that battle that in the long haul will determine if we end up with the Democrat Party being truly a socialist communist party, or if they'll just be a far left union party. That's really the distinction. And it's a big one. There used to be a consensus in Washington, D.C., not just, maybe 6 years ago, that, we're, at least the Democrats pretended to be on America's side. And now they don't do that anymore. And so you have this, and so now you've got this tension that's built up. And the Democrats who legitimately, they believe in America, they weren't afraid to go to war, they support the police, they're people who are just average, everyday Americans who happen to be left of center. Those people are now pushing back against the crazies who've taken over their party. And San Francisco is a symptom of what's happening around the country. New York City, we saw the mayor of New York City, he's a former policeman. Okay, the new mayor is a former policeman. He's standing up to the defund movement in New York City. He was elected. So we're beginning to see a pushback from the crazies who've had their way over the last 3 years in Democratic primaries. And that is great news for America, because one of my fears has been that we would have two parties. One would be the Republican Party, and the other would be the Marxist Party. And you don't win every election. And the Marxist Party cannot be put to have power. So this pushback means there's a tension inside the House of Representatives, the caucus. We know a lot of House members on the vax mandate, for instance, they want to get rid of it. They want to fix the problem, but they can't stand up to leadership. This breakdown in the unanimity in the Democrat Party that we see in San Francisco, which is where Nancy Pelosi represents, by the way, this unanimity that we've been seeing is being broken up and destroyed, is in fact a step towards getting the Democrat Party to at least not be the crazy party anymore. And it's something that's important for people to note, because sometimes it feels really hopeless when you see some of these people and what they're trying to do right now through the Biden administration. but know that they have problems in their own party and pushback in their own party, because there are Democrats who are actually patriotic Americans, and they don't want to defund the police. They do not want to destroy private property. They do not want to encourage lawlessness in their streets. They understand that when they do that, it hurts the constituents who they purport to want to help. And as a result, there's now a fight. And the mainstream media won't tell you about that fight in terms of what it really means. But what it really means is essentially in the Star Wars term, there's a big, the regular Democrats are now fighting back because they see that the people they've allowed to take control are not responsible with the power they've been given.
Rick, I'm going to show a clip. Normally, I would not share a CNN clip because I'm not a huge fan of that so-called news outfit, but they did do a short story looking at what's going on in San Francisco that I think you'll like. It's pretty fair. So stand by and I will pull that up.
Local school board meeting getting national attention? Well, it's in part because this is in deep blue San Francisco, voted 85% for Biden last time around. And, we've gotten used to seeing anti-COVID restriction protests in red states, not so much in cities like San Francisco. And COVID restrictions are at the heart of this. Listen, there are many other issues, of course, but a lot of parents seem to have been motivated by the fact that their schools there in San Francisco were closed for over a year, and meantime the school board was doing other things like trying to rename 44 schools that were named after people like Abraham Lincoln, who they decided shouldn't be honored in that way anymore. So that is one of the major things that drove this. Let's hear a little bit of parent reaction.
I saw a lot of kids struggling, doing school from home. And I saw the school board prioritize renaming schools.
The kids had only about 6 weeks of in-class instruction last year, before summer break. So that is a huge loss when it comes to kids who are coming from difficult socioeconomic situations.
Now, the recalled school board members, they said, listen, that renaming effort was going on long before. It started in 2017. And they also say, listen, you're not giving us credit for the very low COVID case numbers in San Francisco that the city is getting credit for.
I'm on a live stream right now talking about it. So is there...
So that was a CNN report there noting that the school board seemed to be exclusively focused on COVID spread, saying, look, we want to get credit for keeping that COVID spread down, when in fact they were hurting children in the sense that children were being turned into, I like this word, Zoom bees. Get it? Like a zombie, but they're Zoom bees, because they were all sitting on Zoom all day. I had a high school son who, I love that. He was a Zoom bee for about a year, and it was very sad. So in San Francisco, parents finally were able to get these 3 board members removed. Hopefully their kids will get back into the classroom and get the mask mandates out. One thing I was going to say, Rick, about the mask mandates that I learned today is, did you know that school buses, even, local school buses, are somehow under the purview of the federal government? Because even as these schools remove the mask mandates for the classroom, they're still required to keep the masks on the school buses. Isn't that insane?
That's one of the reasons why we need federal action here to get rid of some of this stuff. I don't know if that particular one's going to be dealt with, but I do know a lot of them will be. I just got some news. Mitt Romney is apparently at the airport. Anybody who wants to contact his office in Utah, and or his office at the U.S. Senate. Mitt Romney from Utah is at the airport, and he needs to be, his staff needs to hear it, that he should not get on that plane. He needs to head back to the Senate and do his job. We know that one of the challenges we have right now is that Senator McConnell, ranking minority leader McConnell, has not sent out something to Republicans saying, don't leave for the airport. That's his job. So if you're in Kentucky, let Senator McConnell know that he needs to, Rand Paul's on board, okay? We don't need to worry about Rand Paul. Senator McConnell, let him know that you expect him to do his job and tell the Republican conference to stick around in town and vote to defund this. That's his job as the minority leader. And so far, that has been made clear to Republican members. Others who can have that same power is John Thune from South Dakota. John Thune is the minority whip and is really the heir apparent to McConnell. And so if John Thune were to sit there and say to his colleagues, stick around, stay in town. We cannot have you leave, because if we have you leave now, we can win this vote. We will win this vote if we stay in town. That's the key. This would be the most massive unforced error in the history of the last 3 weeks for the Republican Party. I mean, they do a lot of them, but this would be a massive unforced error if these Republicans in the Senate don't stick around to make these votes. So once again, I just got the phone call on that. That's what I stepped off to take the phone call, letting me know those things. So so that's where we are right now. And in terms of what we're dealing with in San Francisco and around the country, federal regulations that are very hard to undo are overriding local common sense.
Yeah.
And making it so your kids are being abused with ongoing mask mandates, with ongoing vaccine passport mandates. And it's absurd. But that's the nature. When the federal government does stuff, it is very, very hard to undo it all. And the one time you get a chance to do that is during funding bills. And so this is the opportunity right now, this continuing resolution, which is why Mike Lee and Ted Cruz have fought this fight. This is the opportunity to get that done. Let me read you the tweet that Mike Lee just put out. At Senate GOP has a very real chance of defunding at POTUS's, that's President of the United States, remaining vaccine mandates if every Republican stays for the vote. So that's Mike Lee. Ted Cruz, no Republican senators should leave town this afternoon. Schumer is panicking right now because Dems will lose the vote on my amendment and at Senator Mike Lee amendment to block Biden's vaccine mandates and block mandates on kids. The only way Dems win the vote is if ours skip town. So don't. So that's once again, Ted Cruz saying, let's make sure these guys stick around. And the reason they're going on Twitter is because it's one of the vehicles they have to reach out to people to have them take action. Well, we've got this vehicle, and we've sent out the emails. Take action. Check out your emails and spread it around, because we don't know who's looking to leave. Right now, we know Romney's at the airport. He has to, his staff needs to hear that is a disaster. He cannot get on that plane. Because I'll tell you what, if Romney gets on the plane and we lose by one vote, or we tie because he's on a plane, who owns the vax mandate? Mitt Romney. So let's just be very clear that these senators, if they are not there to vote and we lose, the senators who aren't there are the ones who are going to bear the brunt. They'll bear the blame for the vax mandates. And every single kid who has to still wear a mask, still is being abused in school, is still having people who've lost their job and are not being reinstated. Service members are being booted out of the armed services. Every single one of these people, that will be on their shoulders and on their record. So, I'm sorry if you miss your picnic on Saturday, or on Friday, but get your butt back to this Capitol and do your job, Mitt.
The thing I don't understand, and I have a lot of family from Utah. My daughter lives there. I don't understand how Mitt Romney and Mike Lee both represent that state, because Mike Lee is one of the staunchest fighters and defenders of freedom that we have in this country. He is amazing when it comes to defending individual liberties and freedoms. And then you have Mitt Romney, who is super just wishy-washy, and I've never been able to figure him out. I like him as a person. In fact, I knew him as a person. I know him personally. and he's a good man, but I've never been able to understand his politics. And I don't think he's a good fit for Utah. I mean, my relatives in Utah say that people, they want someone like Mike Lee. They want a fighter in there, someone who's going to defend freedom and liberty and individualism. And so I just don't know how much longer Mitt Romney will even last in the Senate. I mean, will he get elected to a second term? I just don't think he truly reflects what most people in Utah want.
Well, let me share with you how Mike Lee got elected, and then I think it'll explain some things. Mike Lee ran an insurgency campaign in Utah. They have primaries that were being done through Republican conventions and a big Republican convention. Mike Lee ran an insurgency campaign against an incumbent senator Republican, who was kind of a go along, get along guy. Mike Lee said, "We've had enough of this."
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
Senator Bennett was who it was. And so Mike Lee ran the insurgency campaign and he won. And it surprised everybody because nobody thought that could happen. So Mike Lee came from a position of we need to do stuff. Romney came from a position of being kind of the anointed one to have the Senate seat when Orrin Hatch retired. And in fact, they shoved Orrin Hatch aside so Romney could take the seat. So and so he was the anointed one. And so we have the classical example of somebody who has fought and scraped. And Mike Lee's his family's got great history in Utah, let's be clear. But somebody fought and scraped because he wanted to do something to get into the Senate, has kept that promise. And Mitt Romney, who was kind of anointed and doesn't really feel the same fervor for standing up for Utah, standing up for individuals, because he views himself as being kind of a above the fray leader. And it's folks, and unfortunately, a lot of members of the Senate view themselves as above the fray leaders. And the bottom line is, this is a fray for freedom. This isn't a little fight down on the corner. This is about liberty. We look at the federal government enforcing mandates that are destroying people's lives. We see what's happening in Canada with what Trudeau's doing to the Canadian truckers and how he's attacking anybody who supported them and attempting to bring down the full weight of the Canadian government on those people who support the truckers and support getting rid of the mandates in Canada. That's where this power that Biden is assuming under emergency declaration, that's where that power is leading here in America. We have to have Congress defund it and take the power away from Biden and make it so if he wants to do something with this, he has to ask Congress for permission, because ultimately that's how we put an end to this garbage, is to make it so Biden has to ask Congress for permission. And if he has to ask Congress for permission, we have an opportunity to have Congress tell him no.
Okay, Rick. So there's no more updates, right? Or do you have any more updates before
I'm looking. Let me look here and see if I got anything else in here.
So please pick up your phone, call the Senate switchboard, or send an email. If you're watching online, we did put a link in the comments section where you can click and then send an email to your senator, or you can just call. And the phone number is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Call the Senate switchboard, 202-224-3121. Urge your senator to stay and vote on the continuing resolution tonight, including any amendments to defund vaccine mandates. Senator Mike Lee has an amendment that we are supporting. Senator Ted Cruz has another amendment. His is related to vaccine mandates that affect school children. There are others as well. Any and all amendments that would defund vax mandates, encourage your senator to vote for those. And Rick, any last words or update?
I don't have any new updates. This is it, folks. We can win this. I think that there'll be another fight on around March 11th on this. But if we win this vote, the March 11th will happen, and the Democrats will come on board with it. So this is the opportunity. This is the battle that we've been kind of prepping for. And if we lose because Republicans fly and get on a plane, essentially, we're going to tell you, we're going to give you some ideas of some things that can be done afterwards. But right now, this is the fight. And, we're going to have, there's going to be another fight on other vax mandates that we're going to have to focus on. That's March 11. But right now is the fight. If we win this fight, it's much easier on March 11. And we just appreciate everything you guys are doing. Americans for Limited Government has put a significant amount of energy and resources into this fight. And we truly appreciate everybody who's taken action. And we appreciate everybody who has provided funding, $5, $10, $15 in increments that just makes so much of a difference in terms of our ability to keep ads up on the air, and particularly Facebook ads and the like. That's how we're doing this. We're doing this saying hand to mouth. So you guys are the key. You guys are making the difference, and we just appreciate all you do.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you on our next Americans for Limited Government live stream.
Thank you.